Right, hello there guys, welcome back to a new video. Now, we're back out in the Audi, back out in the daily. I did go and hoon the Yaris last night actually, that was pretty nice. I went out and took some pictures of it. But anyway, off track. Yeah, in today's video, I've decided to sort of come out and do a talk to you, sit down, chat sort of video, about my driving history. So, let's jump into it. Right, so the start of my driving history. Now, this started when I was 16 years old. For my birthday, my parents and my godmother got me some under 17 driving experience things. It's the same company, I think it was Churchill or something like that, but they did it at Blue Water and Lakeside shopping centres. So my first driving experiences were actually doing them. So the first one I did was at, I think that one was at Lakeside, the first one I did, or Blue Water, I can't remember. I did one of them, and the car that I drove was a 2014 Skoda Citigo in red. For those of you that don't know what any of these cars are, maybe you're watching from a different country or something like that, I will be putting the cars up on screen as I talk through them. So yeah, the first one was a 2014 Skoda Citigo. I didn't really get to drive it much. It was basically I just released the clutch and let the car roll. But when I did manage to step on it on my second one, because again, that was another Skoda Citigo, and because I'd done one and, you know, I'd completed some tasks, I could do another one and actually put my foot down. They are pretty nippy little cars. I think it was like a 900cc engine or something like that. And, you know, you put your foot down and it did sort of shift a bit. But yeah, I can't really voice an opinion on what they're actually like to drive because I just poodled it round a car park. But yeah, that was my first two driving experiences. The second driving experience also happened when I was 16, and it was one that lasted the best part of about 10 seconds. So, me, my grandparents and my cousin used to go camping a lot. And we always used to go to the same campsite because it was our favourite one and it was by the seafront, yada yada yada. So yeah, we'd gone camping. And when you go camping, you're in a field. So yeah, we was heading out for the day and my grandma needed to go to the toilet. And the toilet block was at the end of the line that we was on when we was camping in the field. So I asked my grandpa if I could drive the car up there. Now this car, rather depressingly, was a 1999 Mercedes A-Class. First generation A-Class, one of the first off the production line as well. It was, well, they're ugly things, as you can tell by the picture on screen. It was a diesel. I don't know what size engine it was. Don't remember. But it was a diesel. And it was quite a funny driving experience, actually. So the car was parked facing inwards towards a hedge. Which meant I obviously had to back it out and then drive up the field. So I started the car, put it in reverse, and I had a brain fart. Couldn't remember how to drive from when I did the other driving experiences. So my grandpa gave me a quick 10-second lesson on what I needed to do, so I did it. Now, I used a shit ton of revs and ripped my foot off the clutch and pounced the car backwards. My grandpa instantly told me to stop and get out of the car. So that lasted the best part of 10 seconds. But that was funny nevertheless. I can give a bit more of an overview of this car as to what it's like to drive, because I did go in it a few times. I didn't drive it, but I did go in it. I hate the driving position, because it's like you're sitting on a deck chair. You sit on the seat, and the floor is sort of almost level with the seat. So you're sort of just sitting on the floor on a cushion. I don't like it. But other than that, though, I think the clutch part was pretty strong on it, and well, this is a Mercedes A-Class, and I didn't really drive it far, so that's about my opinion done. Then comes my actual driving lessons. So, again, this was a bit of a kerfuffle. So I went with a well-known big company around my area. I'm not going to tell you the name of the company because I don't want to voice a bad opinion on that company because it was just the instructor itself. You'll get what I mean. But I went with a big local company to my area and started teaching with them. Now, my driving instructor, his name was called Paul. Not giving out a last name, not giving out the company name like I keep saying. He was called Paul, and he had a 2008 Ford Focus, 1.6 diesel. And I will have to say, it is probably the worst learner car I could have imagined. So, my first driving lesson, I went straight on a dual carriageway because I had to go to work. And the work I was doing at the time was over by where my ex lived. And the only way to get there, well, one of the only ways to get there was down dual carriageway. It was the quickest way to get there and the least stressful way to get there. So I went straight down dual carriageway. Did the first lesson perfectly fine, didn't stall it once. Yeah, kept learning with him, but I couldn't get used to the car after that. I don't know why it was, but on my first lesson I could drive it perfectly. After that, I just couldn't. The clutch bite was flipping horrendous. The clutch bite was that high up to undo the fucking sunroof and put my knee out the window. That's how high it was. It was horrible. I kept stalling it because of that, because I could not find the clutch bite. It was ridiculous. The size of the car didn't bother me. The way it handled was alright. It was a diesel, so it wasn't particularly the fastest thing. But that was probably the worst learner car I could imagine to learn in. Jesus Christ. Don't worry, it's not coronavirus. It's hay fever. I'm down in the labour. So yeah, it was probably the worst car I could imagine to learn in because the clutch bite was just horrendous. It was not easy to get used to. It did not particularly make me all that good at learning to drive. And the cherry on top of the cake with this, I got kicked off of learning from that person for being a dangerous driver. How does that work? I don't know, because for the most part, I couldn't drive his bloody car. How am I a dangerous driver? I was also learning as well, so I wasn't going to be a perfect driver. So how can I get kicked off for being a dangerous driver? Don't know, but it happened. So, I went with a private individual. Now, this one I will give the name out of, because he's an absolute legend, and he's Scottish as well, so his accent is cool. But I went with another local individual. His name was called James Martin, and he had, at the time, he's changed car now, but at the time he had a white 2016 Ford Fiesta 1.4 TDCi. And that was probably one of the best cars, even to date, that I have driven. Which is quite surprising because I don't like Fords. So, yeah, the clutch bite was amazing. I stalled that car once, and that's because I forgot to put it back into first when pulling away. I tried pulling away in like third or fourth or something like that. That's the only time I stalled that car. Didn't stall it any other time. But that was a beautiful car to drive. Lovely clutch bite, really responsive, nice handling. It was the titanium model, so it had leather interior. It had all the goodies. It had privacy glass. I loved that car. Like, I wish I was still learning to drive now just to drive that car, because that car was bloody amazing. And like I said, it's probably one of the best cars I've driven. And I wouldn't say I've driven loads of cars, but I've driven a fair share of cars. So yeah, I passed my test in a 2016 Ford Fiesta TDCi 1.4. Like I said, one of the best cars Right. Then I got the first car, which was the first Yaris that you saw on the channel. That was my first car. Yaris T-Sport 1.5 VVTi. You know the score because I talk about them all the time, and I've had two of them. So that was my first car, and that was the next car I drove. Now, from passing my test to actually driving that car, it was about a 3-month gap. Because I bought the car a couple of weeks after passing my test, went to set up insurance, but couldn't do direct debit because I was 17, and I needed to do direct debit, so I had to wait till I was 18. But that car, the first night I jumped in it, I took it out and I went on a massive hoon. I went on a massive hoon, didn't stall it once. I think I only stalled that car a couple of times in total in the whole 2 years I had it. But that was a piss easy car to drive. The clutch bite was different to what I was used to, but for some reason it's quite easy. Steering, nice and light as you'd expect from a city car, and it, you know, you put your foot down and it went. So it was a quick, nippy car, as most of you probably know, because I'm assuming most of you actually own T-Sports, because that seems to be all the comments I get in the comment section of my videos. Oh, I've got a T-Sport. Yeah. So yeah, love that car down to the ground. Best car I've driven? No, it's not the best car I've driven. This is the best car I've driven. But yeah, you know, lovely car to drive. When I got it on the road, I obviously had to get a black box insurance because it is a whole lot cheaper. But I didn't have a black box for about 2.5, 3 weeks, so I was hooning it and gunning it everywhere. And oh my god, it was the best 2 or 3 weeks of my life I had. Just hooning it every night, hooning it, doing about a tank of petrol a night. It was the best fun. Then I got the black box on it, and I had to drive sensibly. I drove sensibly for the most part of that year, till like the last couple of months where I just gave up and just hooned it everywhere. But yeah. So that was the next car I drove. Then, oh god, what did I drive after that? Because I've driven a few of my friends' cars. I'm trying to remember the orders I've driven. I think the next car I drove was a Fiat Abarth 500. 2012 one. It was my mate's Elliot's one. He's got rid of that now. But yeah, I drove a 2012 Fiat Abarth 500, 1.4 T-Jet turbo, blah blah blah. I drove that a few times. I drove it in completely standard form at first with an air filter on it. I think that's the only mod it had. But yeah, I drove that. For the most part, it's a bloody lovely car to drive. It is quick, it's responsive, it's comfortable for a sports car. It's comfortable. I'll give that one to him. But again, it's the flipping clutch bite. I hated the clutch bite on that. The clutch only bit as you took your foot off the off the clutch pedal. Really weird clutch setup. It was almost like the clutch was knackered, but it wasn't. And I know it wasn't because I've driven another one and the clutch bite was exactly the same. But I'll move on to that car in a minute. But yeah, I've driven that. Fun car to drive. Really, really fun. The sounds it makes, amazing. Yeah, wonderful car to drive. I don't know if I'd have one personally. Probably not. But if someone handed me the keys to one, I wouldn't be ashamed to drive it. It's a lovely, quick, nippy, fun little car to drive. I never thought I'd say that about them because I can't stand Fiats, and I especially can't stand Fiat 500s because I think they are the most sexist car on the planet. But it was a fun car, and I wasn't hesitant. I wouldn't say no to driving another one. Then, what did I drive after that? I think a couple of months passed, and then I drove another one. But it wasn't a 500, it was a 595. Competizione, I think that's how you say it. Pass, I don't know. Yeah, so that was the next car I drove. It was a 595 in grey, and it was a 2015 one, I think it was. This was Elliot's brother, Callum, that I drove. So they're twins, they look identical, and they had the same cars, just different colours. Really weird and really off-throwing, but quite funny. So yeah, I drove the 595, which is marginally quicker than the 500. Not noticeably quicker, but still. And again, like I said, it had the same clutch bite. As you took your foot off the clutch pedal, that's when it bit. Really weird to get used to. I stalled both of them cars a few times because I just could not get used to it. Really weird to get used to, but again, another really fun and exciting car. When he picked that car up, he got a pop and bang map on it. Worst thing you can do to a car, but oh my god, when you're driving it and you hear the sounds it makes, you don't worry about that. It's obnoxious, it's loud, and it's fun. It's really fun. Driving that with a pop and bang map, oh my god, that was pretty cool. Again, like I said, another really fun, fast, responsive car. I just did not like the clutch bite on it. That's the only thing I could really... It's the only thing I'd really mark down about Fiat 500 Abarths is the clutch bites. But oh my god, they are fun and fast cars to drive. The next car that came was, if I remember correctly, I think that was my Colt. That's a sore subject. But I think the next car that did come was the Colt, the CZT, 2005, 151,000 miles, more issues than I could list. For the most part, for the 10 seconds it worked properly, which unfortunately I didn't have first gear for. But, you know, when it first worked properly, it was a fun car to drive, minus not having first gear. It was bloody quick, it was responsive, it was nippy. Not as nippy as the Yaris though, it wasn't as good handling as the Yaris. But it was still really good at handling, it was really quick for what it was. And it was a fun thing to drive until all the issues came, and I didn't really drive it much more because it spent most of its time sitting in garages. But I also drove my mate's Matt's one, the one that I was originally supposed to get, that he flipping nicked off of me before I got it. I was supposed to get it one weekend, he got it during that week. So, I still don't like you for that, Matt, if you're watching this, but thank you anyway. But no, yeah, I drove his one. And that had an air filter and a blow-off valve on it. I think that was the only differences between my one and his one. So, you know, no major power gains, no differences to handling, but I drove his one so I could actually experience what driving a normal one was like. And again, really fun car. The clutches on them are amazing. They actually remind me a lot of the Fiesta I learnt in, with how the clutch sort of operates in a way. Amazing cars, lovely clutch bites, plenty of power for what they are, but obviously you can get a lot more out of them. And really fun little pocket rockets. I rate them. Would I have another one? Maybe. But it'd have to be a 100% solid one because the issues just pile up and up and up and up. So yeah. Drove my Colt about a day or two after that. Drove the Colt I was supposed to get originally. Then came driving my parents' 2013 Nissan Juke. This is a 1.6 petrol. I think it's like a mid-range one. I don't know, I'm not going into the specs. But yeah, Nissan Juke 1.6 petrol was the next car I drove. My parents' one. Now, I've always hated on them. I think that they're bloody ugly things. And I went in one previously as a passenger and the ride comfort was bloody appalling. But that was an early one. This one it wasn't facelifted, but it was sort of like in the facelift era, so there was a few improvements. And I'll have to say, it's actually a really fun car to drive. I've driven it twice. And we've also found out that you actually have different driving modes as well. Which I'll get onto when talking about this car. But yeah, it's actually a really fun car to drive. It's obviously tall and sort of 4x4, even though it's not 4x4. But it's not the quickest thing. It does take forever to get up to speed, not gonna lie there. But the clutch is near enough exactly the same as it is in the Yaris. The acceleration, like I just said, it's not the quickest thing, but it's alright. In regards to chucking it around, you can feel it's a big car, like tall, because it does lean, and it's not the most confident, inspiring thing to chuck around. Obviously, it is like an urban cruiser. I think that's what they're classed as. But yeah, it's a lovely car to drive. Actually, you can see well out of it. It's a nice car, and over the couple of years that my parents have had it, it has sort of grown on me. I do. The styling's Marmite. I hated it at first, but it don't look too bad for what it is. It is quite a unique style. But yeah, in regards to driving it, it's actually a really nice car to drive. It's really comfortable, and yeah, I actually like the gears in it as well. I don't know why, but there's something about the gears, I just really like them. So yeah, 2013 Nissan Juke was the next car I'd driven. Then came Camille's blue Yaris T-Sport, which I'm not going to talk too much about because there's a whole review video on my channel about it. I'll leave the link in the description box down below probably. But yeah, then I drove that, and that, oh my god, I kid you not, that's probably second place on the cars I've driven in regards to the, you know, how good they are. That car was just so well dialed in. It was unbelievable. Yeah. I'm not going to mutter on too much about it because you could see my reaction in the review video, which I'll leave in the description box. So yeah, that was another car that I drove. Oh, I've missed one. How can I miss one? I missed the other Yaris, the one that I've got now. That came after the Nissan Juke, because I drove the Nissan Juke, then I sold the Colt. Then got the Yaris, yeah. The Yaris is near enough the same as the first one, but where it's lowered, it handles better. So yeah, it's basically a slightly more refined version of the first one. But yeah, I thought I'd chuck that in quickly. Not really relevant, because it's the same as the first one, but where it's lowered, it's a little better handling. Then came Camille's car. Then came... I think the next car I drove after that is this, the Audi. Which I love driving, and I can't get out of. There's loads of reasons why I love driving this. It's so comfortable. The sound system is amazing. It's nice to just cruise about with your music blaring. It's bloody quick for what it is, but it can be done with being quicker. The clutch is amazing. The gears feel good. Yeah, it is just a really, really nice car to drive. You don't really notice the size of it either. Like, it handles and it performs like a hot hatch. Like what I'm used to. And it's really off-throwing when driving this. Because where I would chuck the Yaris about and hoon the Yaris, I have the same mindset in this to do it to this, because you don't realise how big of a car it is because of how well it does handle and how well it does drive. So, you know, you sort of get a bit carried away, and then you realise, oh crap, I'm driving a big family car. And then that's obviously when your driving style changes. But this is amazing to drive. It is comfortable, it's refined, it does everything. The acceleration's good, the clutch is nice, the gears are nice. It's nimble, it's quick. It's everything under the sun, really, and I just love driving this. So, the top 3 cars that I've driven, this is first. Camille's Yaris is probably second, and the Fiesta I learnt to drive in was third. Other than that, everything else was near enough on par with each other. I think the Abarths, that they were pretty nice to drive. Then it probably went in the Yaris's, my Yaris's, and then it went in the A-Class. So yeah, oh, and the City Go, where would that fall? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, the top 3 cars that I've driven, this Audi, Camille's Yaris, and the Fiesta I learned to drive in. So yeah, that's my driving history so far. I do plan to drive a lot more cars. I want to drive a lot more cars. I love driving cars. I obviously want to get a few more car reviews knocked out as well, which I plan to do, but obviously lockdown I can't. So yeah, if you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Comment down below your driving history, maybe. I'd love to hear what you guys have driven in the past. It'd be quite interesting to see that. But yeah, like I said, if you guys did enjoy this video, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one.